Okay, in this video, we're going to have a look at how you can insert formulas or functions into a spreadsheet. So here we've got a list of product categories and their sales for each product category for each year. So let's assume we wanted to basically add a grand total line. So we wanted to sum up the full sales for 2019, 2020, and 2021. So I'll just type in here grand total, and actually we'll use Control B to bold that. Now, in terms of inserting the sum formula, which is a very basic formula that you'll use quite a lot, we could go to the Formulas tab and then click on Insert Function. If we do that, it'll bring up a list. Usually it'll be in this most recently used functions, right? Is where it will open up. So if you scroll down over here, you'll see all the functions that I've actually used recently. However, if you don't see the sum function here, now in this case we do, but if you didn't, you could click on this drop down and select all, and this lists every single function that's available in Excel. So if I scroll down here on the right by clicking here, you can see it's literally hundreds of them. They do all sorts of different things. So if I type in the first few letters of the function, so click anywhere in here, highlight any of them, and then just type in SU, and immediately it will go to the functions that begin with SU. So you can see it's on the sum function, and if I click on OK, it then opens up the function arguments. And I can now basically, it says what number do you want to put in here. It also tells you that what the function does. So this function adds all the numbers in a range of cells. It's already given us a selection over here, but let's actually delete that. So I'll click here and just highlight it and press the backspace. Now, while I'm in this particular field where it says number 1, I'm just going to click on this icon over there that basically collapses it. Then we click on the first cell for the 2019, so the 725,260 for baking. And then while holding our mouse left key in, we're just going to drag all the way down to highlight the whole range. So now it's highlighting the range B2 to B14. So remember, from cell B2 all the way to B14. I'm now going to click on the icon to expand the dialog box again. And now all we have to do is click on OK, and what will happen is it will automatically insert the formula. So you can see in the formula bar over here, it's inserted that formula equals sum B2 to B14. So that's the one way you could do it. I also want to point out to show you some other ways we could have entered this formula. Let's do it for this cell differently. So the one thing is we went to formulas and we clicked on insert function. I also want to point out that next to the formula bar over here, there is a shortcut. If you just click on that, it brings up the same dialog box to insert a function. We're not going to use this method as we've already demonstrated it. So I'm going to click on cancel. So in the cell itself, right, or if you're in the formula bar, you can click here in the formula bar, or you can click in the cell. It's both going to be the same thing. We type in equals to, because to begin any function, it begins with the equals to sign. And then I just simply type in the word sum. Now, the moment I typed in the word sum, you can see it brought up a list of all the functions that begin with that. So I could even press my down arrow to select different ones if I wanted to. I'm pressing up again. So, and it also tells us what the sum function does. So it says adds all the numbers in a range. And remember, any function, after you type in the function name, you have to put an opening bracket, and then it tells you what are the arguments for this function. So this one needs at least one argument. So when you see something in brackets like that, it means that the second argument here is optional. So it needs at least one thing to be in the brackets. Anything after that can be optional. This will become clearer as you use more functions, especially in the advanced course. So what we do here is we just simply click while we've got it open on the first one, and we can drag all the way down. Now, we could have also just manually typed it in. It's typically easier to click on the first cell and then drag down to select the range. However, if we wanted to, I'm just pressing the backspace repeatedly, I could have even typed in C2 colon C14, and that would automatically show me that that's the range I want. You can see the moment I put in the 14, it highlighted the range, and then we put in a closing bracket to close off the function, and then I press the enter key. So that's manually entering in the function. The quickest way though with the sum formula, because it's so often used, under the formulas tab you'll see there is a option called auto sum. So if I just go to the cell, right, that I want to basically sum things in, and I click on auto sum, it automatically fills out the function. It does it automatically because it figures out that I want to be summing up this numbers above, and all I have to do is press enter. Now, one of the things with the auto sum, I'm just going to delete it to show you. If I'm in this formula, I could go into formulas and then click on auto sum, but the really short way to do it is to use the shortcut of Alt equals. So if you press your Alt key in and then you press the equals to sign at the same time, it'll immediately do an auto sum for you. So the shortcut for auto sum is Alt plus equals, and then you just press enter. I also want to point out that the sum formula also will work this way. So let's say we wanted to work out total sales across 3 years. I just type in total sales, just double click there to expand that column. So for example, the baking would be the sum of these 3 columns here. The beverages would be those 3 numbers. And we could also use auto sum here. So if I put Alt equals to here, it'll immediately calculate the auto sum doing it that way, and I can simply press enter. When you do an auto sum, you can also change the range. So let's say I say Alt equals to, and I didn't want this B3 range. Let's assume I just, for whatever reason, wanted to highlight that whole range. I can click and drag any range, and you can see it changes it in the sum formula. And if I press enter, it's basically going to sum up all that range that I put in. When you're on any formula, if you press the F2 key, the F2 to edit it, it'll immediately show you which range is being included in that formula. So you can see that it shows this in blue, and you can see that that range is also basically in a light blue background. So this blue basically will match up with that to tell you that the B3 to D12 that's being referred to here, it's what's shown in the blue highlight over here. Okay, so I'm just going to press escape, and what I'll do is we're just going to delete this particular column. What we now want to show you is that it doesn't only have to be a sum. Let's look at a few more formulas. So I'm going to click on this particular cell and freeze the pane. So we're going to go view, and we're going to go freeze panes and select the freeze pane. So when we scroll down, the years are still in view. And over here, I'm going to type in average. So we can actually work out what is the average sales across product categories. So the way we do that again is, remember, we can type in equals to, and we can type in the word average. Now let's say I type in the first few characters, AVE, and now it's already on average highlighted over here. If I now press the tab key, it'll automatically fill in the rest of the word on that selected item. And then all I have to do is actually click on the range that I want to copy. So I can actually start at the bottom. Remember, I don't have to go from the top. I just start from the bottom and drag upwards. And that's the range from the baking all the way down to sauces and oils. And the other thing I can tell you is if you just press the enter without even putting in the closing brackets, if I just press enter, Excel automatically will add that closing bracket you can see there for you. All right, so that's the one where you could have actually done the average. So what this is saying is that based on the sales of the different product categories in 2019, the average sales across the categories was this amount of 1,061,994 Rand. In addition to the average, we can also work out the maximum of any individual amounts in a range, right? So if we want to see which particular product category, if we want to see what is the largest product category sales, we type in the maximum, we use the maximum function. So here I'll type in equals MAX, right? And I'll open the brackets, and I'm basically going to do the same thing of selecting the whole range. And we're now just going to press the enter key, and you can see 1430 it's saying is the largest number in this range. And if you actually scroll your eyes across this range, you'll see that the largest number is 1430, which is here for the fruit category. So that's the maximum function. It gives us the maximum number within any given range. Now remember, you can also copy and paste. So let's look at 2 ways. Let's say we wanted to copy this average formula for 2020 and 2021. I could use the shortcut of Control-C to copy, and then highlighting these 2 cells. After I've highlighted them, I press Control-V, and it will paste that formula. So copying that formula and then pasting the same formula across. And you can see if I press the F2 key that it's now obviously picking up the right cells. Remember, I'm leaving out this grand total line for calculating the average. So F2 there, and that's also worked. The other way you can actually copy the formula across, just very quickly, is if you go into the lower right hand side, and you'll see this fill handle. So it turns into a little cross, black one. You just click and hold it, and you just drag it across, and it will effectively copy that same formula for the maximum across. So whichever formula you dragged it from, in this case we were dragging the maximum formula, so it copied the maximum formula into the next 2 columns that were to the right of it.